The Honourable Member for Repentigny. This government is completely addicted to conflicts between Quebec and Ottawa, and we saw it again yesterday in the cannabis file. The National Assembly unanimously demanded the respect of Quebec's autonomy in matters of regulation, and this government doesn't care. Today, the Ministers of Health and Justice are making it worse by lecturing Quebec's government in the paper. Frankly, Mr. Speaker, rather than fueling conflict, can the government show a bit of respect and recognize that Quebec has the legitimacy it needs to regulate within its own borders?
Minister of Justice.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, protecting the health and safety of Canadians is a top priority for our government. Our proposed approach provides provinces, territories and municipalities with the flexibility to impose reasonable restrictions on personal cultivation should they wish to do so. But as our minister has clearly said, there are limits to the extent to which provinces and territories can adapt rules to their circumstances. Our government, Mr. Speaker, remains committed to ongoing discussion with provinces to ensure a smooth implementation of federal, provincial and territorial cannabis legislation and regulatory frameworks.
Honorable député de Joliette.
The Honourable Member for Joliette. That's why it's called question period and not answer period. The federal government is already transferring the financial burden for legal cannabis, is already collecting the lion's share of taxes, and is already setting its own deadline. Isn't that enough? Apparently not. Because when the National Assembly demands a minimum of respect, this government responds by sending two ministers to thumb their noses in the newspaper. Mr. Speaker, it's upsetting to see my colleagues from Quebec put up with all this condescension. Are they going to put their own Cheech and Chong on the Council of Ministers back in their place?
Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Justice.
Mr. Speaker, let me be very clear that our government has been engaged in very extensive consultation with law enforcement, health safety experts through our task force, but we have also been at the table with provinces and territories in a very respectful dialogue in the establishment of the regulatory frameworks that are necessary to protect the health of our citizens, to protect our children and to displace organized crime. That dialogue continues. It is a respectful dialogue, and we look forward to working with our provincial and territorial partners as we roll out an orderly implementation of these new regulations to protect all Canadians.